Je vais tenter d'être dans le temps.
Well, I'll try and keep to the time we have. After all these professors and doctors, I have my own short presentation which I'd like to share with you. I was looking forward to questions in particular because I'm a practitioner. So unfortunately, we've lost the speaker's microphone. If you could avoid pressing the red button, that's just to give yourself the mic. So first of all, I'd like to talk about the context of pastoralism in the sub-region, and I'd like to look at the legislation. My predecessors talked a lot about challenges and perspectives, and perhaps what I could try and do is to try and look at how they relate to our network. So the current context of legislation needs to be looked at from two different points of view. We need to look at it at a national and country level. And remember, I'm talking about West Africa, and there we have countries who are developing as a part of ECOWAS. So, in all these countries, we've seen a proliferation of new texts which try and take pastoralists' interest into account. There have been a number of different charters, there have been laws passed. Niger, Mali, Burkina, Mauritania and other countries are developing their legislation in this area, even if they haven't yet finished developing their codes. When we look at this at a sub-regional level, so the ECOWAS countries, we see that an ad hoc decision was made in '98. And this represents ECOWAS's recognition of pastoralism, in fact. Now, we have the International Transhumant Certificate, which is related to this, which represents a series of commitments between the Sahel countries and the other countries. So the Sahel countries made a commitment to vaccinate animals which would move as part of transhumance. They've allowed for points of passage, and the receiving country then will try and estimate the transhumant dates. They'll try and estimate the paths that will be followed. So that, in essence, is what we have in this transhumant certificate. But there are problems related to all of this. But I'll come on to those later. There's then another plan, another ECOWAS plan, called the COAP. This is because there's issues related to the cross-border transport of livestock. There are other issues related to the prevention of conflict as well, which need to be taken into account. Now, once again, in ECOWAS, we have these task forces who are trying to implement a number of different actions. They're trying to set up an observatory on transhumance, they're trying to monitor pathways and so on and so forth. So what we've noted is that at both the national and sub-regional level, efforts have been made to try and develop texts which will make it easier to manage transhumance and help prevent conflicts as well. And we've noted that there is increasing interest in this sector, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's improved the conditions for transhumance either at a national or sub-regional level. for livestock in particular, there are a lot of gaps in these texts, which makes it impossible today to say that we are on the right path. But that said, we have seen a number of significant advances. There is this recognition, and this recognition hasn't always existed. So a political recognition of pastoralism is absolutely crucial to pastoralists. Now, in Niger, we have the introduction of a number of fundamental rights for pastoralists as well. And then, we have developed spaces for dialogue within the sub-region as well, either between institutions. There are also a number of opportunities which have been created, including all the various different national programs relating to livestock rearing. So we do have a number of opportunities there. And I think it's also very important that we recognize that research has allowed us to demonstrate a number of advantages which allows livestock rearers to make their case more strongly. We have to remember that pastoralism was always surrounded by a number of prejudices, and livestock rearers were always in a position to make a strong case for themselves. But now, the pastoralists have stronger arguments that they can put to politicians. But that said, as I also mentioned earlier on, there are many weaknesses as well. In particular, there are weaknesses relating to the International Certificate for Transhumants. As you know, we're living in a time of climatic instability. Now, as far as the ICT is concerned, you're told that, yes, you have to go and vaccinate your animals, and you have to tell us what zones you're going to traverse 2 to 3 months before you actually go, and that this period also has to coincide with the period in which the receiving countries make these areas available. So 3 months in advance, first of all, there. What may happen is that there is a drought, which means you're not able to wait this 3 months, or you may have to take a different route. So this doesn't leave any room for maneuver for pastoralists to change their routes. And then if you do this, then you're accused of violating the texts, and this will be quite expensive. And then we have good texts, and even if they are good, they're not always easy to apply. We know decisions have been made, and the laws are there, but the problem is that laws often aren't operational. Quite simply, there isn't a process which has allowed for taking into account of all the various different stakeholders for the development of these laws. Generally, it's done at a political level. Politicians, for one reason or another, draw up these texts, but the other stakeholders, like farmers or pastoralists, haven't been heard, or they haven't been significantly involved in assisting in developing laws which are realistic and practicable. So that's what I wanted to say. I'll clearly be very happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much.